So remember circumference of a circle, things like radius, diameter, chord. All right, so circumference is on a different slide, but it's the distance around a circle. So it's kind of like the perimeter of a circle, if you will. So circumference is the measurement of the circle on the outside. There's a formula for that, which we will talk about, but in order to understand that formula, you need to know the difference between these three words. So maybe highlight them, star it. I think this picture is a good summary of it. But we have radius, which is half of your diameter. All right, diameter is what goes all the way across. So radius would only go halfway. All right, so I would probably write that on the slide somewhere. That radius is equal to half of your diameter. Okay, radius equals half of the diameter, or the diameter divided by 2. And then the other thing that we don't really use, but like for circumference, I mean, is chord. So chord goes through any two endpoints on a circle. So don't confuse it with diameter. All right, diameter goes right through the center. Radius goes halfway through the center. Chord can be anywhere. Questions? All right. So then circumference of a circle is a distance around the edge of a circle. The circumference is equal to pi times the diameter of the circle, which can be written out as C equals pi times diameter. Sometimes it doesn't tell you what the diameter equals, but it might tell you what the radius equals. So if you remember that the diameter is 2 times the radius, or that the radius is half the diameter, vice versa, you could also remember the circumference in this format. So pi times 2 times the radius. Or I think saying 2 pi r is a little easier. All right, so these all mean the same thing. D you can write for diameter so you don't get confused. R is for radius. And remember that diameter is equal to 2 times the radius. All right. Pi, you have a pi button on your calculator. So usually I say like if that button is available, to type that button in. But it's sometimes approximated to 3.14, and I did see that in these notes. Whether you use that button or whether you use 3.14 does change your answer a little bit. So whatever the instructions say to put your answer in terms of, put it in terms of that. Sometimes it says use 3.14 for pi, so then put 3.14. Sometimes it says put it in terms of pi, which we'll talk about when we get to that example. Questions so far? All right. So we have area of a circle, another formula. And that one is going to be area equals pi r squared. All right, where r is your radius. Volume of a cylinder. All right, so remember cylinders kind of look like soda cans, right? Those are cylinders. It's basically made up of a circle on top and then like a round body. So in order to find the volume of that, we use this formula. I would highlight this one. So pi r squared h. where R is your radius again. So it's half of the circle that's on top. I kind of labeled it up there. Maybe you want to make it a little bit bigger. All right. So R for your radius would be here. And then your height would be the height of the cylinder. All right, so how tall is your cylinder? Volume of a pyramid, and there's a few different formulas for volume of a pyramid. This time we are looking at just square pyramids. So volume of a pyramid, and we're talking about square pyramids. For that, we're going to use this formula down here. But be careful not to confuse that B with base. All right, so that capital B is going to be the area of your base, which since we're doing a square, so I'm going to kind of draw you a little pyramid. All right, since we're dealing with a square, squares have all the sides the same, right? And since the area of the square is base times height, and those sides happen to be the same, then B is going to be S squared. So whatever side length is the base of the base of your pyramid, you're going to square it, and that'll represent what B is in the formula. So the area of your base is that capital B. All right, and then H would be height, so however tall your pyramid is. Maybe like right there, we could label it for an example. And it's going to be times 1/3. All right, you might also see it as B times H divided by 3, that's the same thing, but we'll use this one when we're doing the problems. Questions? All right, so next page. Volume of a cone. All right, so remember cones look something like this. Sorry, it's hard to draw straight lines on here. So you have a circle on top, a cone-ish shape on the bottom, and then that formula, we are going to highlight this one here. 1/3 pi r squared h. All right, so 1/3 times pi times r, which represents your radius of the circle that's on top, and h for your height. So that would be this part of your cone, how tall your cone is. Questions about this one? Okay, so next one. So now let's practice. First, figure out what they're asking for. So we have find the circumference and area of the circle below. It gives you instructions for pi. It says use 3.14 for pi and round your answer to the nearest hundredth. All right, so look in your notes, find the formula for circumference. All right, the circumference for a circle is what? Should be like the second page towards the top. Should be 2 pi r. There's other ones, there's pi times diameter, pi 2r, which is the same thing, just in a different order. Since they gave us the radius, so this is only half, so this would be my radius, I'm going to use this formula. So we have c equals 2 pi. They said use 3.14 for pi, so I'm just going to replace it with 3.14 times your radius, which is 6. Notice that anytime I'm plugging in a number for a variable, that I put it in parentheses. All right, that's just to show you that what we're doing is multiplying it. And you can just enter it in your calculator exactly how it looks right here. Enter that in your calculator. You can put the parentheses. And if you put it in the calculator the right way, you should get 37.68 inches. All right, questions? So I like this lesson because all you're doing really is plugging stuff in. I think there's like some algebra on your practice where you have to like solve for maybe what the radius is. But if you get to that and you're stuck, just let me know and I'll help you. All right, so let's see the next slide. Practice 2, we have the volume of a cylinder. So I'm going to draw the cylinder to kind of help me with that. Looks something like this. The volume of a cylinder with a diameter of 4 centimeters. So does diameter go halfway or all the way across?
All the way across.
All the way across. So I'm going to draw it like how it tells me. So we have diameter of 4 centimeters and a height of 5 centimeters. Use 3.14 for pi and round your answer to the nearest hundred. So I drew the picture to help me out. I suggest you do the same. That's a good test strategy. Now find the formula for volume of a cylinder in your notes. All right, so volume of a cylinder that says that V equals pi r squared h. All right, last thing you want to do is use the wrong formula, so make sure that the thing matches. So volume of a cylinder, that's the formula. Let's start plugging stuff into it. So we have V equals pi, which it says use 3.14 for pi. R is next. Does it tell us what R is? In the problem, does it say the radius is this? No. Can we figure it out somehow though? Based on our vocab? All right, it doesn't give us radius, but it does give us diameter. So how are those two related? Radius is half of the diameter. So radius equals 1/2 of the diameter. All right, so it's half of 4. What's half of 4? 2. Good. All right, or you can also plug it into your calculator if you want. So it looks something like this, and you still get 2. All right, so half of 4 is 2. So my radius is 2. Then it's squared per the formula. H, it says, is 5. All right, put that in your calculator. And when you do that, you get 62.80 centimeters cubed. All right, when you take volume, that's gonna be cubed, not squared. All right, because it's normally like 3 things being multiplied together. So that's cubed. Questions? All right, we'll end it there because I don't want to go over the time. Don't lose your notes. We have like 2 problems we didn't do. Tomorrow I'll give you time to work on the 8.01 practice. So don't lose that practice either.